Your eyes do not deceive you. I am Mike Pendleton, better known here as Mikey P, here live on the Coaching Company on a Sunday morning. And to join me, as always, our numbers man, our numbers guy for a reason, Raphael. Raphael, I can't do the coach. I'm not going to do the highest bars, so I'm just going to say good morning, Raphael. How are you, sir?
I am doing well. How are you? It was a nice Sunday. We have an NFL game going on right now. We don't need the coach. Me and you got business right now.
We got a lot of business week 5, and like you said, we have a banger of a Sunday morning matchup overseas. I'm not going to call on the NFL for anything. I am just going to say thank you for putting the Browns and the Vikings overseas. I think that's the best place for them to play football right now, especially given their quarterback problems. But when these, I want to start there real quick with these Sunday morning, early morning games. What is the action like, and when do you really start to see maybe the most movement on a early Sunday morning game like we have today?
It's all about matchups, just like on TV viewing and TV ratings and bet money coming in is the matchup. And this is not a good matchup. So even though if you worked, I remember working in Vegas and I would have to get in a sports book like at 5 in the morning for these games. Because yes, this one started at what? 9 o'clock Eastern or Central Standard Time. That's 6 to 7 o'clock Vegas time. So we would have to get in there to take care of all the tickets coming in. But it's just a bad matchup game. I just looked at the numbers right before we got in. It wasn't a heavy bet game. Numbers weren't moving. We have Carson Wentz versus Dylan Gabriel. How do you think that's going to go up to the bet window when you're placing your bets? So money did come in, but nothing like let's say if it was the Bills versus the Patriots at this time slot, it would have been a totally different dynamic.
The absolutely one of one, the incredible producer man. You see it there on your screen, pulling up the game caps for us. So definitely a Raphael clap. Although he should get a standing ovation for all the things that producer man does on the scenes, behind the scenes. So thank you, producer man, for that. You can follow along there. Rafi, one thing real quick on this Vikings Browns game. You mentioned Carson Wentz. You mentioned Dylan Gabriel. As somebody like myself who loves player props, I was looking, and at least on FanDuel this morning, both of them were under 200 passing yards. How often do we see that for two starting quarterbacks in the NFL to be under 200 passing yards?
Only if Iowa is playing Iowa State, and that's the only teams that I can think maybe we'll see that type of a game. But yeah, this was kind of shocking. I'm sure betting profits weren't flying out the window between this one. I mean, Dylan Gabriel already has a touchdown pass, but I think he has less than 20 yards thrown in the game. So do the math right there. I think both teams are just going to want to run the ball, try not to get hurt overseas. Cleveland maybe wants to try to get some reps for Dylan Gabriel, live reps in this one. So I wouldn't see a big firework game of throwing the ball all over the place.
And I know we'll have live updates throughout the 45 minutes or so that we are here this morning. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Feel free to chime in if you've got any questions for Rafael. Make sure to put them in the chat. If you got any questions for me, like why am I sitting in the host chair instead of coach? Put those in the chat as well. But last thing here on the Browns and Vikings. We saw Shador Sanders being a mime this week when talking to the media. Leaving that out of this conversation, he's still the number 3 quarterback. What are the odds, if you have them, that Shador Sanders plays in a game this season?
I'm thinking maybe week 10 or beyond or that one because why? Unless you're totally tanking, unless both of them get hurt, Flacco and Gabriel, I just don't see him coming in anytime soon. He's a 3. He's not the second. He's not the backup. He's a 3. So I just don't see that happening right now. Live betting is the Vikings are favorite -3.5, and the total's 41.5. So this total was 35.5 when it closed. So hey, we got a 41.5 now in live betting.
Yeah, we've got a, like I said, we got a banger matchup here, and it's 7-7 in the first quarter. So we'll have live updates for you guys throughout our time here this morning. But I talked about odds. We've talked about odds. I think it's time to beat the books. All right, Rafi, I'm going to let you go ahead and start. We've got DG who contributed as well, but Rafi, kick us off.
Really quickly, I can't believe this. Some Cincinnati money is coming in, so some 9.5s popping up on this one. So that's kind of, I guess people didn't watch the Bengals play last week. Is my only 2 cents in that one. But let's get going with some, not one, but two green check marks early this Sunday morning. We're going to take the Broncos Eagles over 43.5. Eagles' last two games, they've scored back-to-back 30 plus points. Their offense has been really good when they can run the ball. Bo Lever cashed me on Monday night. Bo Lever gave me an over. So Bo Lever and the Broncos are going to give me some points on the board. So I think this game flies over to 43.5. So the Broncos, I think, put some points on the board against the Eagles defense. And then give me the Saints. Alvin Kamara over 72.5 rushing receiving yards, -3 nickels. Saints played back-to-back games against the Bills defense and the Seahawks defense, which we'll talk about the Seahawks defense coming up shortly. But those are two really good defenses, and now they're playing the Giants defense. I think Alvin Kamara will be able to run and receive the ball on this one. His last home game against the 49ers, he had 120 total yards in this game. And I think he does that. So I think he comes close to 100, even though Taysom Hill is back in this game. But I still think Alvin Kamara is going to be a big key for the offense.
All right, before I give out my plays, I have to get your insight because I still cannot wrap my head around it. I'm looking live at the number. I've looked this morning. I've checked 1,000 times. How are the New York Football Giants an underdog against the New Orleans Saints? Please explain that to me.
I don't understand why people think, oh, the Giants won last week. We got our savior. Really? Jackson Dart is the savior? I mean, he's played one game in the NFL. Now he has to go against Saints at home against a pretty good Saints defense. And the Giants are still banged up. They got Taysom Hill coming back. I think the Saints should be the small favorite. I would think I would be the other way on the fence with you saying, Mikey, why are the Jackson Dart Giants the small road favorite in this spot? I just think it's too overreaction with the Giants right now.
Well, Rafi, I hear you. And that's why I've got the New York Giants as one of my best bets on the money line because you're a Bo Lever. I'm a Dart man, right? I love me some Jackson Dart. Even without Malik Neighbors, I think you're going to see the complexion of the New York Giants offense change. Instead of making Jackson Dart have to be a pocket passer and throw the ball for 300 yards, I think we're going to see a lot of Cam Scatterboo. I think we're going to see a lot of Jackson Dart using his legs. So give me the Giants on the money line against the Fighting Spencer Rattlers, if I could gimmick infringement from Coach himself. And then Derrick Henry. I'm all about replacements this weekend, right? Cooper Rush is in, Lamar Jackson is out. And so I look at Derrick Henry and his rushing attempts because I don't expect 40 attempts out of Cooper Rush. So I do expect Derrick Henry 20 or more rushing attempts at a -113. And then give me Baker Mayfield. I know we're going to talk about this Seahawks defense. This is one of my favorite games on the Sunday slate. Baker Mayfield over 230 passing yards. Bucky Irving is out. So give me Baker at a -104. And then Chargers, Commanders. Commanders are hot. And I don't mean on a hot streak. I mean they're hot because they lost to the Jackson Dart-led Giants. And I think the Commanders who get Jaden Daniels back, they know how to put up points even without Scary Terry. Debo Samuel's still in that lineup. So I think we're going to see a lot of points. Give me the over 47.5 on that one at a -105. And then Rafi, if you would be so kind, could you give us our DG kicker parlay?
Oh, I'm like the coach. I can't read that, so let me pull it up on my screen. He has a 2 field goal parlay at +341. I like the number, but I don't like the P word, so I will just call it as it is. He's going to take Spencer Schrader, Brandon Aubrey, and Chad Rowland. They're all kickers. I know one of them's for the Colts, which is Spencer Rattler's been on fire. Look for his total field goals at 7.5 as well. I think DG also released that one early in the week, so it's a 2 field goal 2+ field goal parlay. Kickers. If Zeno was here, his head would explode right now, but he's not here. It's just me and Mikey, so I think this one cashes.
Chad Ryland of the Arizona Cardinals, Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys, and then, like you said, Spencer Schrader of the Indianapolis Colts. So get those 3 kickers in if you want to follow DG, if you want to follow Rafi, and if you really, really want to add to your bankroll. I've got 4 plays there for you. But those are our best bets for this Sunday. A little early action happening overseas still. It is 7-7 at the start of the second quarter. And the Dylan Gabriel led Cleveland Browns are driving down the field. And of course, we've got a flag because why wouldn't we between these two teams? All right, there are a lot of matchups on the slate today, but we've picked out some of the absolute best. And when we look at some of these games, do you have any as before we pull them up? Do you have any line movement or anything that you've seen coming across the last couple minutes?
Yeah, some under money's coming in on a Jets game as we speak, and I get Detroit Cincinnati is pretty much the biggest line going on, going pretty much crazy right now. A little bit shocked that this number got posted all the way up to 48.5. Don't forget the Giants Cowboys total opened up at 45.5 and got bet all the way up. Yes, Dak Prescott has really nice passing numbers, but their defense has been awful, and I think that's why the betting public pushed this one up. So it's going to be very interesting to see if the Jets offense can put some points on a shredded Cowboys. So I would probably stay away from this game. I was a little bit blown away that Dallas wasn't like a solid 2 or 2.5 point favorite. So that brought me a little radar saying, why is this number so low? So when I see that, I usually just kind of back off on that one. But it's all about the Jets if they can score on this. And that's why I think this total is probably going to continue to drop.
Well, there you go. I love that analysis because RJ in the chat actually asked for your
Oh,
thoughts on that game. He said he's got. I know how you feel, Mike, about the Dallas Jets game with Dallas -1.5, but I'd like to hear what Raphael thinks of it and in general for the game. So there you go, RJ, on that.
energy.
Are you talking about these New York Jets? These Gotham City New York Jets? I am repping the city of New York or East Rutherford, New Jersey. I still don't understand that, but I actually like both New York football teams, and obviously, I guess I should say all 3 New York football teams to win today. I like the Jets on the upset. I like the Giants on the, if you call it an upset, and then the Bills tonight. So it could be a good day in the city of New York. But let's get to our top games of the week. And we've got 2 undefeated teams left in the NFL. One of them, the Philadelphia Eagles. And from a football standpoint, Raphael, I came on here last week when they won their game, and I said, this is what we wanted to see. We didn't want to see the tush push 27 times a game. But if you can use the tush push formation to set up new plays, new scoring opportunities, new looks, now people are going to put down their pitchforks because you're doing something else with it. They take on the Broncos. I know you're a believer. Give me what you got for this game.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe Denver wouldn't have played Monday night and they have a full day, full weeks of rest coming into this game. So I think that makes a big difference where everyone knows the trends of how people playing on Monday night and they have to play the next week to short rest, short practices. I think Denver can hang around. Their defense played a lot better. Bo Nix played a lot better, but you were playing Philly. I'm a little bit shocked that this one hasn't got bet back all the way up to 4.5. It's pretty much solid 4s all the way around. It's opened up at 4.5. So that just tells me people were impressed with what they saw with Denver on Monday night, and they're getting some nice two-way action with the Broncos coming in. But I'm a little bit shocked that this one's not 4.5 or 5 on the Eagles. I think the Eagles at home is always a tough place to steal a victory.
Yeah, especially in the city of brotherly love there, Philadelphia. I mean,
And their
the
Phillies lost yesterday. Oof.
I know. The nicest place in all of sports America is Philadelphia. I don't know if anyone knows that. So it should be a very friendly crowd for the Sean Payton Denver Broncos. I like the Eagles in this one at the -4. Uh, but when you look at that 44, Rafi, your thoughts on, is that number too high, too low? Because Bo Nix has struggled. I'm not trying to call out your boy, but he has struggled. He does create a lot of turnovers with some bad throws. Do you like that number there?
I do, because this one opened up at 42.5 and got bet all the way up to 44. It was 43.5 last night. I grabbed a couple 43s when it was on. I just think if Denver wants to keep this close or even try to steal this game, they're going to need to score points because the Eagles back-to-back games scoring 30 plus points, 31, I think 33. So the Eagles can put some points on the board. And we all heard about A.J. Brown. I want the ball. I want the ball. He's going to get the ball today. I think the Eagles offense is going to try to want to spread their wings and put some big points on the board because of everyone complaining on the offensive side. So I can see the Eagles putting up another 30 plus points.
That's a great point. Thank you for bringing up AJ Brown because I do think that's somebody we have to look at today. What is the vibe in Vegas and with the odds makers when it comes to, hey, superstar player is complaining? Do they move the lineup? Talk to me about how AJ Brown's situation would be handled on a day like today.
As long as no one tells the sportsbooks what I'm going to tell you right now. Stuff like this when happens. We used to deal with this with Terrell Owens all the time. When he opens up his mouth, he wants the ball. We add an extra 1.5 yards, 1.5 receptions, or move the juice higher to the over because that's all you're going to get. Just like remember back in the day when Phil Jackson would complain about not getting calls, foul calls, and all that, we would always add maybe 2 or 3 more points to the total because we're going to see a lot of free throws for Phil Jackson's teams. It's the same thing when it comes to player props. If someone opens up their mouth that they want the ball, we're going to move prop bets a little bit more on the overside and juice up the overside.
So that's on the book side. Now, on the betting public side, what side do you stand on? Do you say, yeah, go with the guy who's upset because you know Philly's going to try to feed him the ball? Or do you say proceed with caution just because you're making a lot of noise doesn't mean you're going to get the ball?
On Sunday at 10:16 Eastern Standard Time, you have to proceed with caution because everyone's probably got the number that they wanted, and now you're getting the bet in number. Now you're getting a number that everyone moved it up or moved the juice up. So this is when you bet with caution and say, hey, you know what? Wow, this one opened up A, B, and C, and now it's D, E, and F. Why would I take the worst number on a Sunday at 10:17? So this is when you either proceed with caution.
Yeah, and for me, from the football aspect, I would caution everybody to look at this game and not take the AJ Brown numbers because when I look at AJ Brown and when I look at the Philadelphia Eagles through the first 4 games, this is not a team that is catering to their superstars. We haven't seen Saquon Barkley look like the Saquon Barkley of last year. Jalen Hurts, all due respect, does not look like an elite quarterback right now. He looks like a guy who is just getting the job done. So when I look at AJ Brown, I look at, him complaining and, oh, is he going to get the ball more? I would say it's not likely because right now Nick Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles are doing just what they have to do to get victories. So for me, I would almost proceed with caution because just because he's talking and he's going to have Pat Surtain on him most of the game. So would you even say, Rafi, you look at a Devonta Smith and go, okay, I know AJ Brown is talking. I know everyone's betting AJ Brown. Maybe this is an opportunity to look at a Dallas Goedert or Devonta Smith when it comes to receiving props.
Well, 100% I agree with you on that. So what if AJ Brown scores a touchdown really quickly? Now you don't really have to target him anymore because you just fed him a touchdown. He is happy for the rest of the game. Now you can spread the wealth around. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that one, especially the tight ends and maybe even Barkley on the screen press. Because I think we're all making fun of the Eagles can't pass. The Eagles can't pass. It's like John Cena can't wrestle. The Eagles can't pass. It's the same thing pretty much. So I would look at Barkley, maybe total receiving yards as well.
Yeah, right now the good folks over at BetMGM have Devonta Smith over 4.5 at plus money plus 125, and then AJ Brown, he's also at 4.5 at a minus 135. Which one do you like there the most?
I kind of like both of them. If I like the over, then I kind of looking at what you both said and say, you know what, cash it. Because right now, where we were talking, 2 books just moved the total to 44.5. So I don't know if they think me and you are the smartest guys on earth or money is just coming in. But like I said, I like the over. So I'm looking at both of those prop bets and over. And I'm also looking at a couple Broncos prop bets over as well because I'm going to need them to score some points.
Do you have any Bronco props that you like more than others that may be flying under the radar for the Denver side?
Bo Nix total rushing yards and rushing attempts because he's going to need to extend plays for him. So yes, I think their tight ends could be a little bit more effective, but I think Bo Nix needs to extend plays with his legs and his arms. So look at both of them.
Now, one guy I look at for Denver is J.K. Dobbins. He's got 80. He's averaging over 80 yards rushing. The line is at 47.5. I know the Eagles have a very good defense, but that is a wide discrepancy from his season average to his number today. How would you play a J.K. Dobbins today?
I would look at that in one of my favorite quotes in Star Wars. It's a trap. It's a trap. That to me, when I looked at that, when I saw that, that's when I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just pass on this one and maybe educate myself. Write the number down, see what's going to happen in this game, and maybe look to play something down the road with the schedule that's kind of maybe favor this. I wouldn't touch that prop just because the Eagles' run defense is really good.
Now, to that, I'll play devil's advocate. And last thing on this game, looking at Dobbins once again, his rushing and receiving is set at 55.5 over at
Yeah.
BetMGM. If you think the Broncos are going to be playing from behind, even if he only gets 20, 30 yards rushing, do you think he could put 20 yards in receiving yards?
I think he can. I mean, if you could get past the front line of the Eagles defense, then you can get some yak and stuff like that. I think he probably can. So it's just all about getting past the D line of the Eagles, and then you can proceed with caution outside that.
So, do you think this would be a better play, which is very weird to say sometimes, is saying we should take a running back's rushing and receiving over just his straight rushing? It sounds weird to say out loud, but is J.K. Dobbins maybe a good example of how you would maybe look at him this week?
Normally, I look at 3 or 4 running backs with rushing, receiving in a week. Like I said with Alvin Kamara, same thing. I think he's going to be effective both on the run and both on receiving. Same thing with Dobbins, both on the run, both on receiving. Because I think both teams could be playing from behind, so they're going to need that.
Well, let's move on because some teams are going to need a miracle. And that team would be the Baltimore Ravens as they take on the Houston Texans. Both teams not where they want it to be this year. Lamar Jackson is out. Cooper Rush is in. How do you approach this game from a betting standpoint, Rob?
I understand Baltimore money coming in just because the Ravens are used to playing without Lamar. It's not like this is his first time out, and they have to rearrange their offense. They played with Lamar before out, so it's nothing new to them. But this is kind of ironic. If Lamar was playing this game, this would be a -9.5, maybe a 9. So you're looking at almost a full touchdown plus another, let's say, half a point on this one. So that's kind of, you may have to take a step back and say, okay, if Lamar was playing, we're almost looking at double digits. Now he's not. Now we're +1.5. I think we either pass on this game or maybe live bet it just to see how the Ravens offense looks. Are they going to just run the ball the whole time and put their quarterback in certain nice situations and don't put that much pressure on him? This is either a live bet or a pass because I just don't understand why this number is that low.
When I look at this number, one thing that really intrigued me, and I was very excited to not only do this show with you in general, but when we talk about this game, do you think this number would be different if Derrick Henry didn't have the early season struggles? If we saw the King Henry of old putting up 100 plus rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, no fumbles, do you think maybe they would have looked at it and said, okay, we know Lamar's not in, but Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry, and right now he's not that guy?
You would think the books would be like, oh, Derrick Henry's fumbling. Let's make this +1.5. You know what the books are looking at? Their defense giving up 30 plus week after week after week. They made the Kansas City Chiefs offense look like the St. Louis Rams offense back with all the turf and all the speed with Terry Holt all over the place. So, no, it's not because of King Henry's fumbles. I think it's the way their defense has been playing.
And so that number at 40.5, a little spicy because the Ravens are giving up plenty of points. But guess what, Rob? On the other side, the Texans can't score. They legitimately cannot score. Their offensive line is bad. I wouldn't even call it a slump for CJ Stroud anymore. I think he might have the curse of the Arch Mannings. I don't know what's going on with CJ Stroud. When you look at that 40.5, too high, too low? What do you think?
I call it the curse of Ohio State quarterbacks. Tell me an Ohio State quarterback that's been legit good in the NFL. I'm waiting. Is anyone in the chat going to answer that question? No, because it hasn't been anyone. But I agree with you in the Texas. That's why another reason why I just live bet this or pass on it because I have no idea what I'm going to get from the Texans offense. None, zero. Because CJ Stroud has been playing awful for the past year and a half. Not just like I said, you called it. Not a sophomore slump anymore. It's a junior fail, or I don't know what do you call the junior and stuff like that. So I just don't trust the Texans offense. But if you're the Texans offense, you're like, how are we going to improve? You know what? Let's play the Ravens defense. If they put up, let's say 24 plus points on the Ravens defense, then this Ravens defense has more problems than Lamar Jackson and his injury.
Now, we obviously talked about the Cooper Rush. Kevin Wallace says Cooper Rush can sling it, his over passing yards. Before I get to his passing yards, I got to ask you, both these teams are led by superstars. That's Derrick Henry for Baltimore, Nico Collins on the Houston side. One will have the starting quarterback in CJ Stroud. Derrick Henry obviously will not have Lamar. So how do you go about approaching two teams who have struggled, but they both have superstars? It feels like the betting public would go all in on a Nico Collins or a Derrick Henry in this matchup.
If I had the behind the buckle credit card, I mean, I would probably look at maybe taking the Ravens just because what Kevin said, Cooper Rush can sling it. I think he can run this offense. And we all know if they could put up 7 points quickly, their defense can maybe shut down the Texans' bad offense. I would take a bad defense over a bad offense any time of the week. So I can see that going on there. So I understand why Houston's 1.5 point favorite. I think that's why maybe take a look at the Ravens, but I don't take too deep of a look.
Cooper Rush number at
Yeah.
188 and a half. I think you smashed the over on that. Your thoughts?
I lean towards that because and again, unless Houston scores 24 plus and they get the victory and all that, I'm like, okay, maybe Houston's not as bad as we really thought. Maybe it's just the Ravens defense is really bad, which I think it is.
Well, Rafa, I like to do this when it's you, Coach, and I throughout the Sunday and Monday night grinds and all these shows. So I'm going to introduce the world to somebody I mentioned in the week on Coach and Company on the morning show, Woody Marks. Now, his rushing yards are at 52 and a half. I don't love that. Maybe his rushing and receiving, which is at 72 and a half, and maybe his receptions. If you don't know Woody Marks, that's okay. You'll know him by the end of the season. He has taken over for Nick Chubb in that Texans backfield. And if CJ Stroud continues to struggle throughout the rest of the season, I think they're going to lean on some youth. And I think we're going to see Woody Marks really emerge as the RB1 there in Houston. All right, moving on to some actual good football games that I cannot wait to see. This is my favorite game of the week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Seattle Seahawks. And I almost threw up in my mouth for putting the Seahawks in my favorite game of the week conversation, but they look good. Ralphie, where are you at on this game?
Why are you a hater on the Hawks? I'm a big believer because of that defense. Their defense is outstanding. And I know everyone's like, oh, I love Baker. I love watching him play, but he's not 100%. Their injury report looks like my CVS prescription report. There's so much in there. They're just not healthy right now. I think that's why Seahawk money came in. This one opened up around a 2.5, 3, quickly moved to 3.5. Right now, before we were going to dive into this, I just saw a little bit of Tampa Bay money coming in. Not significant to get it off the 0.5 point. I think they're just going to move the juice around most of it. But I just think the Seattle's defense is going to be too much, and Baker is going to be running all over the place because their offensive line is all banked up as well. So if it wasn't for injuries, I would look at Tampa Bay, but Hawks defense plus injuries equals home win.
There is no Bucky Irving for the
Yep.
Buccaneers in this game. Rashad White, Sean Tucker will take over in the backfield. And so I've got to ask here, it's very similar to what we just talked about in the Texans and Ravens game. When an elite star is out, does that immediately just turn the attention to the other side of the offense, right? We talked about Lamar, then we looked at Derrick Henry. When you look at Bucky Irving being out, I think everyone starts focusing more and more on Baker Mayfield. Is that the trend with the books? If one is out, you look at the quarterback and vice versa.
Well, no disrespect to Bucky Irving, but he's not a household name in the betting world. Maybe prop bets and all that when people pull it up, but he's not a King Henry. He's not one of these big running backs that we've known for years and years and years. So that doesn't really affect the betting number. Now, if Baker was limping around and he said, I'm going to play no matter what, and let's say he didn't practice all week, that's a huge factor. Bucky Irving was not that big of a huge factor on this one. Yes, is Baker going to get a lot of love of prop bets and stuff? Correct, just because of Irving not out there. But if this was a bigger name as a running back, if Mike Allstott was not playing today, we might be talking a little bit different when it comes to that. But Bucky Irving's getting there. I think if he has another solid year like he did last year, he's going to be up there. Someone we need to talk about moving numbers if he's not playing.
I think a guy who everyone's going to also focus in on is Emeka Ibuka.
Yep.
But before we continue on this, let's address the chat here. And first and foremost, let's address chat queen Kimberly said, Mikey P, my great niece just heard you and let out a big ew. All right. Well, I don't know if that was because of one of my plays or what. I definitely don't think it was because of my character and personality. Rafi, do you think I'm, giving of a ew vibe when I'm on the show?
Maybe Denise tried to climb up Kiss F's mountain with you and got sick because it was too high up. I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of.
And our good friend Nonsense McGee says JTS boys combo parlay. Cam Scatterbo 60 plus rushing yards. Chris Olave 50 plus receiving yards. And Tyler Warren 50 plus receiving yards. That's a plus 273. I don't actually hate that. I don't hate that.
You
And
know
then
what? One thing about Scatterbo, here's another one you have to proceed with caution because his name's been out there all over the place with Dart and stuff like that. You need to be very skeptical when you're betting him right now on a Sunday at 10:31 because these numbers have been out 5 days. Everyone's been hearing Scatterbo and Dart, and they're playing the Saints who have no winless, looking for their first dub in the Superdome. You have to be cautious because that number I think was around 57 and a half, 58 when it opened up around there. So I think proceed with caution on some of those.
before we close up on the Buccaneers Seahawks, I just want two questions here for you, Raf. While you look for this, I'll ask you the other question. But Bruce in the chat is asking for two overs. So if you have those that you like to give to Bruce, but then also before I just ask you the question, I just want to put this out there. We are seeing so many injuries early in the NFL season. It could open up the possibility of bettors to look for that hidden name or that Woody Marks feature of, oh, I'm gonna hit this one. When you start to see guys like Emeka Ibuka, Woody Marks, whether they be rookies or Cooper Rush, veterans that you're just trying to trick people and say you didn't think that they would hit this number. How do you go about finding these new names or these popular names, Cam Scatterbo, Jackson Dart? How do you approach these names that are just coming to the spotlight?
Well, for injuries, for when we're looking at numbers and stuff like that, I tell people a lot of times books are not even looking at names on the back of the jersey. They're looking at money coming into the window, and that's what's moving numbers, not because Scatterbo had a great game last week and all that. They're looking at money coming in. Now we can see some names that, wow, it can adjust our betting numbers for next week's game. So some guy has a huge game that we've never heard of today because he finally got a chance to play, then yes, it can maybe add his name to the list. His name maybe not have been on the list of any prop bet. So we look at names on that, maybe adding him or adding more yardage to his plays, not, oh my God, this guy beat us. Because last time I checked, I never got yelled at for a guy that's never played, that scored a touchdown. I can just tell the bosses, hey, this guy was on the practice squad yesterday. How am I supposed to know he was going to score a touchdown on Sunday to win the game? So don't look at names, get big names coming up there. Watch the games and look for next week's numbers because this week's numbers are pretty much, they're all bet in already. There's not that much value left on the board.
I absolutely love it. Let's close up Buccaneers Seahawks here. We've been talking about Baker Mayfield. No disrespect to Sam Darnold, but a little disrespect to Sam Darnold. At BetMGM, his number is at 230.5 at plus 100. The under is at a minus 135. Baker Mayfield at 224.5. To me, I know who I like because he was a part of my best bets, and that's Baker Mayfield. But who do you like more, Sam Darnold at 230.5 at a plus 100 or Baker Mayfield 224.5?
I think they both go over, but I would probably have to look at Baker just because I have a feeling they're going to be playing from behind. And one of my overs for Bruce, I like the Seattle Seahawks team total over. I think they put up some points on the board because last time I checked, Sam Donald's really good in the early part of the regular season. Ask him how he's doing in maybe weeks 15, week 16, week 17.
All right, so we got that one. What's your other over here for Bruce?
I'm gonna probably take the Patriots team total over. I know they're on the road, but here's another team that we're not talking about how poorly their defense has been playing. Is the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they let the Saints come really, really close to being nail biters last week. Don't forget the Ravens put up 30 plus points in their backyard. So I can think New England can probably put some points on the board.
Well, we will touch on that game here in a moment. Let's get to the other big game in the late afternoon slot. That is the Commanders and the Chargers. And what a tale of two teams. Finally, Jaden Daniels is back for the Washington Commanders, and the Chargers, they're pissed. right? They just lost to the New York Football Giants, and they did not look good at all. Coach Harbaugh said that Justin Herbert has been getting hit too much. We saw the emergence or the birth of Omarion Hampton last week in the loss. Quentin Johnson is probably one of the biggest surprise from a fantasy football standpoint, a betting standpoint. When you look at this game, the number's at 47. Do you like it?
I kind of lean towards the under. That was a tad high. Even when they announced that Daniels was playing, I thought it was still a tad high because you figure the Chargers want to run the ball. Because when you're running the ball, Herbert isn't getting hit when you're running the ball. So I think it's going to be a run happy first for the Chargers. Control the clock. You said it. They're pretty PO'd from losing last week. I think they put a beat down on Washington. How healthy is Daniels? He's playing with a knee brace today, so that's going to probably stop his mobility and maybe his speed or his cutting. And those are his gems when he's scrambling and making passes or going for extending plays. So how's that going to affect him? I think the Chargers could be the play. This is a 425 game, guys. I think the betting public is going to look at the Chargers. I would not shock me if they put that evil half a point before kickoff. That could be 3.5. I would maybe look at the 3. And there's a couple 2.5s out there.
Well, looking at this game, one of the big things that you see on the Washington side, I just mentioned Omarion Hampton. His number's at 65.5. I do like it. I know the Chargers offensive line is banged up, but Rock, there is a huge kind of, it feels like a trap with the Washington Commanders. You just talked about Jaden Daniels and his knee brace, and I don't know if Washington knows who their starting running back is. You have the rookie Jacory, you have Chris Rodriguez, you have Jeremy McNichols, and then obviously Jaden Daniels can run. I believe his line at BetMGM is 44.5. Yeah, 44.5. How would you approach rushing props for the Commanders, or would you even touch any rushing props for the Commanders?
I think they said yesterday, the coaching staff from Washington, they're going to let him play his game, but be very cautious in how he plays his game. That just tells you right there, if he's running, the whole coaching staff is going to be very nervous. I think that every running back you announced, I think gets more than 5 attempts. Because if the Chargers are running the ball, I think Washington's going to need to run the ball to try to get possession and try to keep the momentum on their offensive side as well. So, again, that's why I lean towards the under. I think we're going to be both teams establishing the run early.
So as we move over to some receiving props, I was looking at the number for Zach Ertz because with no Terry McLaurin, you think, oh, the Zach Ertz is going to be the guy. Yeah, his number's 3.5, the over -190. So I'm going to stay away from that. And I'm going to say at 5.5 at a +100 for Deebo Samuel in Washington. Here's why I like that number. And it's not just because Jaden Daniels can take the snap, look back, and fling it down the field to Deebo Samuel. Washington can get tricky. Those little shovel passes. Deebo Samuel is the ultimate Swiss Army knife. So I think you can get a couple cheap receptions on that number from a shovel pass, for a jet pass, whatever it is. I think you could see Deebo Samuel easily get over his number. Ralph, your thoughts on any receiving props?
Well, I was just looking right now when you mentioned Zach Ertz. This is a perfect example where you wasted your time betting now on a Sunday for a Zach Ertz prop bet at 3.5 at -190. This one opened up anywhere between -135 and 140. It's now 10:38, and this thing has been bet all over the place because there's 4.5s out there. I would rather take the 4.5 at plus money than 3.5 lane that ugly -190 juice if you still think he's going to have a big game. But I would not touch the 3.5 because my rule is never over -125 on player prop bets. But this is a perfect example where you missed a good number because everyone the last 5 days has crushed Zach Ertz props.
Yeah, and it's one of those numbers that as you wait and wait and wait, it's if you truly believe in it, if you start hearing the early injury reports, which we heard, Deebo Samuel was questionable, Terry McLaurin was questionable. I think the moment questionable starts to come into play, that's when you look at a Zach Ertz, like you said, Ralph, and immediately hit those numbers because for me, questionable doesn't, even if they come out into the game and they're healthy enough to play, questionable to me is, hey, we've got some movement here. I think Zach Ertz could be a play. Looking at the game we have overseas, guess what, Ralph?
We don't even have to look at it. It's the same score, same numbers. The total is now 34.5. I mean, geez. thank you for putting this game on now so I don't have to watch it because I'm doing the show.
I'm seeing the ball out of the corner of my eye, always going very, very high up. And I go, wow, I didn't know Carson Wentz could still get air on their ball like that, or Dylan Gabe. No, they're punting. They're punting back and forth at 7-7, 4 minutes to go in the first half between the Cleveland Browns and the Minnesota Vikings. Live look. The Vikings getting the ball at their 11-yard line to start the drive here. We'll see what happens if we get any points. Ralph, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do we get any points here before the end of this first half?
No. It's going to be 7-7 by halftime. I'm a little bit shocked that not one of these quarterbacks has thrown an interception. So I got to give it for, I mean, even Cam Akers threw a pass for 32 yards on this one for Minnesota side. But no INTs. A little bit shocked for a 7-7 game that's ugly since that's kicked off. So congratulations on the no INTs.
Quinshon Judkins, the very talented rookie running back for the Browns, broke off, I believe, a 40 or 50 yard. I don't have the yardage on to my knowledge, but he broke off a huge touchdown run. And then guess what? Because he plays for the Cleveland Browns, holding offense, it gets called back. So that is a huge blow to anyone who had either Quinshon Judkins anytime touchdown or the points here. All right, let's look at the Sunday night before we get out of here. It is an AFC East showdown. It is the debut of the ever so popular Buffalo Bills NFL rivalry jerseys. They're going to be iced out. They're all white jerseys with a little blue trim around it. And I think that's going to be the most exciting thing we see in this game. The Patriots and the Bills. Ralph, I don't think this game is close. Your thoughts?
I do believe so. How did the whiteout happen to Penn State when they were whiteout? Didn't happen well to them either. I think it's going to be much closer than we think. And there's, like I said, there's three different numbers out there: 7.5, 8, and 8.5. Now I'm going to get a little knowledge right here. FanDuel and DraftKings both have 8.5. The only books that have 8.5. That is telling you right there that they're looking for plus money. They're looking for New England money, and they want that hit you. I'm going to take plus 8.5. And you know what? I'm going to hit the SGP and parlay it with, what do you say? The under, because all the under money is coming in right now. That's why they're the only two books that have 8.5, because they're looking for people to bet that SGP on them. And when you add another team to your bet, it doesn't usually roll as well. So be very cautious. If you like the Patriots, then yes, I would definitely get that plus 8.5 at DraftKings and FanDuel, because everyone else has 8 or even 7.5. But I'd be very cautious. This number is going to move because it's a late game.
Now, this is a very interesting game from an odds perspective as well, because the Bills struggled last week. They got the dub. The Patriots laid waste to the Carolina Panthers, putting up 40-plus points. How do you kind of buck the trend when looking at this game to not take recency bias into equation and say, well, the Patriots put up 40. They've got to put up quite a few points against the Bills?
I think that the improvement that the Patriots show week after week on their offense, I think that's why it keeps it close. And we've seen that the Bills' defense is scoreable. You can run on them. You can pass on them. I think that's why I think this game stays close. I have New England winning by 6 points or less on this game. I'm sorry, Buffalo winning 6 points or less. I'm not saying New England's going to win this game outright, but I just think they're going to hang around. I can see both field goal kickers being big parts of this game as well. So I'll take the plus 8.5.
All right, real quick before we get out of here, looking at some props for this game. And I think it's a tale of two teams, two different sides of the equation. So I'm going to start with the New England Patriots. So looking at, for me, it's not the rushing. I'm going to be honest, Ralph, I don't even like a lot of their player props on the receiving side. I am looking at one and one man only, and that is Drake May. His number at BetMGM, 223.5 at a minus 115. Do you like it? Because I love it.
Yeah, because I think he's probably going to be playing from behind, and he's going to want to go toe-to-toe with the quarterback across with his nice white jersey on, and he's going to want to put up the same numbers as Allen's pulling up. So I can see a quarterback battle who can put up the better numbers on this one. And I even would look at both QBs to throw an interception. I think both teams are going to want to be throwing the ball because it's the last game. It's on NBC. Everyone's watching this game. I think both quarterbacks are going to want to put on big shows. Wouldn't shock me if you see both quarterbacks throw INTs.
Very, very interesting. Drake May also a minus 115 for 256 and a half passing and rushing. I think we may see two quarterbacks really try to take this game over with both their arms and their legs, respectively. I think it is going to be a very fun contest, maybe an underrated contest, but it won't be a 40-40 tie. It will not be a 40-40 tie like we saw last week. But then, as I talked about the Patriots and their quarterback, I got to look at a man who's been on fire. And as much as we gave Saquon Barkley, and I'm not comparing the two, but as much love as we gave Saquon Barkley in the NFL last season, let's put some respect on James Cook. His number is 72 and a half. He's averaging 100 yards on the ground. That says something to me, especially through 4 games into the season. If your average is still at 100, you're doing pretty good. It's a minus 115 at 72 and a half. What do you think about James Cook tonight?
He's healthy. I mean, when you're healthy in the NFL, we're now week 5. It shows on how you do your numbers on the field, and that's what we're seeing right now. He's healthy, and he's having fun on that offense, so I can see that flying over again. Because I think if you like the over, then yes, I'm looking for a little bit of a high-scoring game. Not that high. I can see both teams scoring. I can see like a 26-20 type of game around there, but I think he'll have a big game.
Yeah, I like James Cook for his rushing. I like him for an anytime touchdown. And like I've already mentioned, I love Drake May at his passing yardage tonight. But we'll get into all that. And not only will we get into all that, the guys from Weekday Wagers will be live here on the Coaching Company YouTube page at halftime of the Sunday night game. But there's only one thing you can do to find out all that we have going on here is you can become a premium member. You can make sure to hit your notification button, get your alerts set anytime we go live here on the Coaching Company. We've been going live every Sunday late afternoon. I don't think that's changing this weekend. So the only way to find out, follow us on socials. Make sure to tune in, hit that alert notification button. But before we get out of here, Rob, we've got to run it back with our best bets. It is that time of the show. It is time to lock it in. And as we look... All right, Ralph, get us started here. Give me your best bets for today.
Well, in baseball, don't forget there's 2 baseball games. Every sportsbook just moved it to 5.5 in a total of the Tigers Seattle Mariners game with Scuba on the mound. How I can't remember the last 5.5 I've seen in a playoff game where every book has it. So it's crazy. But my plays are Broncos Eagles over 43.5. I would take 44.5. I would maybe half my bet if it's 44.5. Like some books have moved it. I just think we're going to see a lot of points scored in this one. So give me the over on that one. And then give me Alvin Kamara over 72.5 rushing receiving yards and -3 nickels. The Saints are looking for their first dub, and I think Kamara's going to have a big game, especially with Taysom Hill coming back. I think both the offense of the Saints show up today.
Well, I see your Saints, and I raise you a Jackson Dart. Give me the New York Giants on the money line. Before I continue on, I do have to acknowledge Nonsense McGee with a super sticker. Thank you very much, Nonsense. Raphael, clap for you. So as I look at the rest of my plays, Derrick Henry, I need you, big dog. I need you, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, 20 or more rushing attempts at a -113. Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Seattle. Sleepless in Seattle will be the Seahawks defense. Give me Baker over 230 passing yards at a -104. And then the Chargers and Commanders over 47.5 at a -105. I think we see plenty of points. Raphael, give us that DG going to hit kicker parlay.
Well, he's in the chat. He should come in and just say it for me, but I'll take the field goal 2+ field goal parlay at +341. Give me Spencer Schrader, Brandon Aubrey, and Chad Rowland for his kicker parlay. And then Kevin Walls asked for a stat of the day, and I'll give you a stat of the day because that's what the people want. 9 of the Broncos' last 10 games following a win have gone over the total.
All right. Well, as we get out of here, Raf, I know there are some games, some teams that intrigue you. Week 5 here, October 5th. Final takes before we get out of here.
We saw some really, really good fights last 320, and we're going to see a really, really good brawl when it comes to Tampa Bay and Seattle. I think it's the best game on the board, even though Tampa Bay, again, they're not healthy, but I just still think Baker and Sam Darnold are going to put up a great head-to-head battle. I can't wait to watch it. When was the last time you could say the Buccaneers and Seahawks is the best game on the board?
Yeah, it's been quite some time. And I agree with you. And for me, it's funny because we got a lot of East Coast, West Coast matchups this week. And I think 2 of those matchups are going to be the best games we see all day today with the Commanders and the Chargers, the Seahawks and the Buccaneers. And my final takes are 2 things. First and foremost, I'm going to give them a lot of love today because DG is correct. Kickers, cash. There is a reason why when you hit a lot of cash, when you win a lot of cash, you take out the C and you replace it with a K because kickers, cash. So follow DG and his plays throughout this Sunday action. And for me, finally, you know what, Rafi? It's a good Sunday. It's a good Sunday because I get to kick back. Don't have to work a Bears game. The Bears are off. And we're going to be back later this afternoon, right here on the Coaching Company, recapping all the early afternoon action, get you prepared for the Sunday night game a little more in depth. But for me, it is the last Sunday before 13 straight weeks of work for the Chicago Bears. So I'm super excited. Take our best bets, take them straight to the cash window. And I am not the coach, so I am not going to gimmick infringement. Just hand them your slips and say, give me my money right here on the Coach and Company YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for everyone in the chat, for Producer Man, for Raphael. I am Mikey P, Mike Pendleton. We will see you guys later this afternoon right here on Coaching Company.